Good evening. Welcome to Tuesday Night Live. Coming to you from the studios of New Directions, Making Dreams Real. We're glad to have you with us tonight. It's an exciting time for me every Tuesday night, and I appreciate each of you that listen on Tuesday nights. We're going to have a few announcements before we get started. Let's see what those might be. I want you to know that we have GED classes daily. If you need to get your GED, then we need you to call us, come by. We're open from 8:30 to 4 every day. And so if you did not graduate from high school and you need to get your GED, we will help you do that through training and taking practice tests and all those things, and help you overcome the fear of taking a test and let you be comfortable in writing essays or with math or whatever you fear the most in taking a test. So we want you to come by and get your GED here at New Directions. We also have PTSD group meetings. If you have PTSD because of combat or because of trauma in your life caused by whatever, maybe it was sexual incest with your parents, maybe it was a horrible car wreck, maybe it was the death of a child or your parents or your spouse that created that for you. Maybe you're a first responder and something you saw just overwhelmed you and you are having to deal with the PTSD. Come by and sign up and attend our group meetings. We have a curriculum called Reboot, and it will help you get through the situation with your PTSD and be able to cope with those things. We also have job readiness classes. Get you ready, interview, resumes, whatever you may do. If you need help with whatever to get ready to go to a job interview, if you need some help maybe in vocational training, we can help you with that or connect you with the right source to help you with that, and then we can find you the job that you want, whatever type of work that you may want to do. Everybody has a different dream, a different idea of what they want to do, and so it's up to you what you want to do. We will not try to put you in a place that you do not want to be and are not happy with. We will try to help you get placed in the dream job that you have had all your life. So, we have other things here also. If you want to just come by and hang out, drink a cup of coffee, just sit around and talk a little bit, come by and we'll help you out do that. Okay, number 2. There is a app called Joyous, and it is an app to help you with your anxiety, with your paranoia, whatever it may be that plagues you, and you can download this app, and if you do, we ask that you put in the slot, you don't have to, COVID-19, and it would allow us to know how many people connected with this Joyous app through the announcements of Making Dreams Real / New Directions. It is an app that will give you your reading every day of your emotional level, how you feel every day, and it also has around 500 different 2 to 3, 4-minute videos of all kind of different things. If you have emotional issues, as I said, paranoia, if you are bipolar, whatever it may be that plagues you, you can go online and it'll help you get it set up, and then you can listen to videos during the day or during the night that will help you cope with the issues in your life. So we would love to have you go on and download this app, where you have Apple or Samsung or whatever you may have to download the app. We would appreciate if you would do that. Now, last week we were talking about Can God change the past? We didn't quite get through with the lesson because we run out of time. So we're going to continue on tonight. We talked a lot about Moses. In fact, the story was about Moses and his birth and his raising in the Egyptian palace and committing murder and being on the backside of the desert as a shepherd. And then the power that he had through the rod that he had in his hand, that God empowered that particular thing that he had in his hand to help him cope with what God had called him to do. So, whatever's in your hand, maybe it seems nothing is in your hand, there's always something. God can empower that to help you fulfill the calling that God has designed for your life and the purpose that God has designed for your life. So we want you to understand that, and what you have power. God will empower you to live your life as it was designed. Things may come up that try to sidetrack you from the path that God has chosen for you and the journey that God has chosen for you. But we want you to understand that even doesn't matter. As Moses was sidetracked and raised in the palace because God wanted him to be trained for the purpose that he had for him, and it seemed to Moses that he was in the wrong place because there was just something not quite right with him where he was placed. So we know the story, as I told you last week. He went out and saw a Hebrew being abused by an Egyptian, and he killed the Egyptian. I don't know whether he knew at that point that he was a Hebrew, but anyway, he felt connection and brotherhood with the Hebrew that was being abused and did not feel connection with the Egyptian. And so to protect the one that he felt connected to, he killed the Egyptian and then had to run for his life. Ended up in the land of Midian, ended up living with a priest and marrying his daughter and herding his sheep for 40 years. And then he met God in a burning bush. So here we are tonight, ready to go. The question still is, can God change the past? I certainly believe he can. I do not know your past. I do not know whether you had a wonderful past or whether you had a past that was very painful. I don't know where or not you had an expanded past. You felt comfortable where you were. You understood things. Or your path was small and you were confined, it appeared, every day in your life, and you ended up making a wrong decision at some point in your life, whether it was getting on drugs, whether it was because of trauma that happened in your life and you started experiencing PTSD and started hearing voices and those different things in your life which totally sidetracked you. There's a story about a young lady when she was 18. She went off to college and started there and was doing quite well. But all of a sudden, one day she started hearing voices. And these voices were very mean and cruel and brought discomfort into her life and brought her life to a point where she could not even function in college. And it came about because her father sexually abused her when she was a young child. So she suffered for several years with this issue in her life, with these voices, and with pain, emotional pain in her life. And she ended up in mental health hospitals. She ended up one day on the floor of a big room by herself, filthy, her hair tangled, and laying on the floor just totally distraught. And she met this psychiatrist, I cannot remember his name, and she was sitting across the desk from him with her feet gathered up in the chair, her head down, totally dysfunctional, when the doctor asked her, "Lauren, look at me." She looked up and he said, "What do you want to be?" And she sat there contemplating what he had asked her, because no one had ever asked her what she wanted to be. Everyone had always told her what she needed to do to overcome all these voices, all this dysfunction in her life, all the emotional pain in her life. And she sat there a little bit and finally answered the doctor and said, "I want to be a psychiatrist." And he said, "Lauren, that is totally in the possibilities of your life." So from that point on, she was encouraged and did go back to college, did become a psychiatrist, still had voices, but made friends with the voices in her head. And I will not go into the complete story at that time. So what are your experiences? What are your experiences? If you're like me in school, I did not like school. I felt uncomfortable. I was introverted. I could not, did not think very much of myself. I thought I was not a very good person. I thought I was not talented. I thought no one liked me. And if you've been around me very long, you know the story that when I was in the second grade and we were on the playground and they were choosing up sides to play softball, and nobody chose me. And I said, "Well, I want to play." And the guy, one of the captains that was choosing, was a great athlete. And he said, "Well, Arthur, nobody wants you on their team because you're not good enough." So that was my experience. And from that time forth in my life, I never thought I was good enough for anything. Although I strived to do everything, I strived to be successful. I was successful in my life in a lot of areas, but I never felt successful because I always thought I was not good enough to be on the team. So I thought people only tolerated me. They did not accept me and did not want to be around me. That was the story of my whole life. I still struggle with that to this day, and I'm 75 years old. I work hard, I accomplish things, but I still struggle with the fact that I'm not good enough to be on the team. So what have you experienced? What has troubled you, or what has made you a success? Maybe you were chosen. Maybe you were the captain that was choosing other people. So what was it? Maybe you were the Moses that was trained. Whatever it is that your experience brought you to where you are today. There is a scripture in the Old Testament that said this guy named Jabez cried out to God. And he said, "God, that you would bless me and enlarge my territory. Let your hand be with me and keep me from harm, so that I will be free from pain." And God granted his request. Did you see the picture on your screen or the photo on your screen about a small tent, small children, in a small confined area. And that's where Jabez was, in a small place, with a small tent, in a small area. And he said, God, I don't want to live like this. I want to be blessed. I want to have a expanded life. I want to enjoy life. This is your creation, God. This is the life, the world that you have made. I don't want to live in pain. I don't want to live with emotional trauma in my life. I don't want to live with PTSD. I don't want to live with voices. I don't want to live addicted with mental health issues. I want to live free. God, that you would bless me. This was his prayer. Oh, that you would bless me. How many of you want to be blessed? You've heard us say it a lot of times, Jeannie and I. Blessed and highly favored. Blessed and highly favored. That's what we were. Blessed and highly favored. So, Jabez said, enlarge my territory. I don't want to live in a small tent anymore that you can't even stand up in. I don't want to live in a small area. I don't want to be a small person. I'm not talking about being a child, but emotionally small. I want my experience to be enlarged, be joyous, be full of peace, be full of success. And I want to be accepted and connected. And I want to do the things that I've been designed to do. So, what do you think you've been designed to do? We know that God created Adam and Eve, breathed into them the breath of life. They became a living soul. He planted a garden for them, placed them in it, told them to till it, take care of it, to grow it, to learn about it. He had them name all the animals. He had them do all that. He enlarged their territory from just being born. And they weren't really born. They were created and designed in the image of God. And then he put them in this garden, large garden with wonderful, beautiful place. And told them, okay, here you are. It's all yours, except for the tree of knowledge and good and evil. Don't do that. Don't partake of that tree. Because the day you do, you will experience tremendous pain. So, how many of us have made choices that have caused us tremendous pain? Or other people have abused us and caused us tremendous pain? Either way, it's a very difficult area in our life. But can you pray this prayer of Jabez? Cry out to God and say, God, that you would bless me. Please, God, bless me. Can you believe that God would bless you? So many people tell us things that as I was told in the second grade, that bring us to a place of pain. I was reading a story of a man last night that went to school to become an actor. And the teacher told him, you will never earn money using your voice as an actor. You need to find something else to do. He proceeded to become a great actor. Okay? His name was Goodard. None of you would know him. He lived way back in the early 1900s. So, how many have watched the movie Pursuit of Happiness? Where the guy lived in a small apartment in chaos. His wife left him. He lost his job. His wife left him with her young son, and he got evicted from his apartment. He was homeless, and he wanted to be a broker. So he went to classes. He lived in a homeless shelter. He studied in the bathroom at night. It was difficult for him. And he got an interview with a brokerage firm to become a broker. And the night before, he was arrested for an outstanding warrant. And it was late the next morning, almost time for his interview with the brokerage firm, that he finally got out of jail. And he just had time. He had been painting the apartment where he had come from so that they wouldn't file charges on him. And he had on dirty pants. He had on painted pants. He had an old torn T-shirt on. And he did not have time to change clothes. So he ran to the brokerage firm and sat down in the waiting room, and everybody else was dressed in three-piece suits. And finally they called him in, and the guy looked at him and shook his head and said, "What in the world are you doing here dressed like that?" But he didn't let that intimidate him. He wanted to do it. And so it didn't matter how he was dressed. The only thing that mattered was he believed. He believed that the job was his. Can you believe that God will enlarge your territory? As you see the tent, the small tent, now you see the large tent, the bigger area, all the beautiful trees. Doesn't matter if you've made the wrong decisions. Doesn't matter what's happened to you. Doesn't matter if you're wearing an old ripped T-shirt. Doesn't matter. What do you want to do? You can do it. You can do it. So, tonight, believe in God that He will enlarge your territory. Okay? That He will help you do that. Can you believe that? No matter what has happened to you, you are created in the image of God. You're a God image. And God has everything in Him. So God said He would be in you and you in Him. So if you're in God, God is in you. All the greatness of God dwells in you. All the knowledge of God dwells in you. You may have to study in a bathroom at night because they turn the lights off in the shelter. But you can do it. You can be an overcomer. And like Lauren, you can be a psychiatrist. Whatever it may be. It doesn't matter where you're at this moment. It doesn't matter what has happened to you. You can be successful. God bless you. Thank you for being with us tonight in this Tuesday night live chat that we had with you. We would love for you to come by New Directions. We're located at 220 Sunset Boulevard in Westwood Village, right across from the Dairy Queen. Come by and see us. We're right next to the Dollar General Store, and we're here every day, and we would love for you to come by and drink a cup of coffee with us or a bottle of water or whatever you prefer to drink. God bless you tonight. Go with God.